Jai Gurudev, and thank you for joining us today. Today again we have with us an art of living expert and an officer of the Vedic Dhamma Sansthan. Today we are going to discuss about the satsang which was conducted on 28th of November at the amphitheater of Art of Living International Center, with Gurudev giving his wisdom and knowledge and taking some Q&A. So based on it, we have with us an art of living expert and an officer of the Vedic Dhamma Sansthan to discuss the satsang in even greater detail. So why are Sanskrit words described as functional rather than descriptive labels? Jagudev, and thank you for joining us today. So, Sanskrit is a language built on vibration and function. Its words arise from what an entity does, not how it looks. For example, Parna refers to a leaf not because it is green, but because it performs the function of absorbing or drinking sunlight. Its linguistic identity is tied to photosynthesis, the transformation of light energy into life. Even in color theory, a leaf absorbs all wavelengths but reflects only green, the color our eyes perceive. Similarly, Suparna refers to feathers because of their hydrophobic behavior. They reflect water, do not absorb it, protect the bird from wetness, and dry quickly when shaken. This reflection principle leads us to Aparna, that which absorbs nothing but reflects everything. In the center itself, a building is named Aparna to symbolize pristine consciousness. From the Vedic standpoint, spirituality uses the same logic. The universe works through function, the earth digests waste, air circulates life, the trees recycle carbon. All are self purifying. Humans alone introduce plastics and chemicals that nature can eventually process, but slowly. Functional awareness teaches non attachment. The guru is compared not to a cosmetic mirror, but to an X ray revealing inner states, removing masks, reflecting truth rather than emotions. This encourages the mind to become mirror like, reflective but not reactive. Ancient civilizations embedded meditation, devotion, or bhakti and service or karma as a lifestyle. But life is a cyclic. Forgetting and remembering create contrast, so wisdom can shine. Language, identity, devotion, all must serve function, not trap the mind. True seekers transcend labels by understanding essence and grow into liberated awareness. Now, what does a leaf teach us spiritually beyond its biological role? A leaf is a master metaphysical teacher. Its job is transformation. It takes solar brilliance and turns it into nourishment. This embodies the principle of karma acting in service, or it also reflects one color instead of hoarding all. This is sensory discrimination. When something absorbs everything, like pigments taking all light, the result looks black. When it reflects all light, it looks white. Consciousness in its pure reflecting state is like a white light, untouched, non sticky. The Niranjani, the lotus leaf, symbolizes this, living in water yet not glued to it. A leaf says, I will take what serves life, reflect the rest without stain. This is detachment with dignity, not avoidance. In the Vedic culture, earth was honored as mother because her function is bear, dharani is holder. Similarly, the cow is goma by function. She goes around nourishing, removing malnutrition. Leaves were used naturally and ritually because they hold a vibration, not garbage. Ancient societies lived biodegradable lifestyles aligned to purity. Meditation was social infrastructure, not exception. Forgetting meditation is like forgetting sunlight. It returns cyclically. Ignorance exists for knowledge is glory. A leaf teaches that remembering a real function, photosynthesis of consciousness, is meditation. Inhale life force, transform within, exhale well being. It also reminds us not to debate the name of green, but to honor the act of absorbing the sun. Now, why is non attachment emphasized through metaphors like hydrophobic feathers and lotus leaves? Attachments create psychological saturation, reflection creates freedom. Bird feathers are engineered to repel water. Functionally, they teach don't let the outside stick. Aparna consciousness absorbs nothing, reflects everything. Similarly, lotus leaves sit on water yet no droplet stains them. This is Niranjani awareness where no impression becomes trauma. Subconscious impressions may exist but need not always manifest. Not everything must express itself. Meditation helps subconscious detox so impressions flow away in times as flood. Feathers shaking water is like pranayama shaking reactions of the nervous system. Non-stick awareness is immunity to temporary hostility. Even opponents change because nothing is forever in dharmic culture. Vairagya is functional elegance, not escapism. Temporary emotions like anger or jealousy are not copied by the guru. He reflects truth instead. The guru is an inner X-ray mirror. When disciples stay joyful, their joy protects the guru's field to indirectly supporting well-being. The metaphors insist on eco-purity as inner purity, hydrophobic, equivalent to non-absorbed mind, lotus leaf, equal to non-sticky heart. Now, how does the cyclic nature of forgetting and remembrance serve life? The forgetting is not failure, it is contrast. When society forgets meditation and then rediscovers it, knowledge shines brighter. The contrast between ignorance and awareness is evolutionary theater for the soul. Even language separation stories symbolize remembering unity. Meditation is a cyclic reawakening. Stress makes us forget gratitude. Gratitude dissolves stress. Meditation becomes the inner pillar of light that remains unaffected while time carries reactions away. Subconscious stores impressions, but you need not be ruled by them. Meditation removes the inner toxins lodged inside. Nomadic Dharma 2 is a cyclic restoration. Flood of time removes all that looks permanent. The Guru teaching itself is detox. The Lagan or the persistent love for knowledge is bhakti. Now, why should spiritual seekers avoid conflict over religious labels? The words reflect geography or era, not absolute truth. Hindu arose from Sindhu region. Sanatan is a timeless. Objection should never arise from contextual labels, whether someone says Hindu, Vedic, traditional, or spiritual. Hateful analogies comparing dharma to disease like cancer or plague are incorrect and must be rejected without reacting hatefully. Essence must be captured, not labels. Meditation liberates beyond linguistic debates. Death comes to all, but spiritual samadhi is experiential liberation that seekers can attain at the center. Now, what is the role of bhakti in realizing knowledge and dissolving ego? Gurudev, bhakti is not sentimental emotion, it is the chemistry of persistence. Gurudev said knowledge, devotion, and action are the three wheels of one seat. If even one wheel is held sincerely, the others roll in automatically. Love is the solvent that dissolves ego, the inner mass that creates separation. Without bhakti, knowledge becomes dry philosophy. With bhakti, knowledge becomes experience. The lagan, the unshakable longing, arises only from love. When bhakti melts love, awareness becomes aparna, the pure reflection, nothing sticks. The mind that reflects then reflects truth instead of reacting to triggers like jealousy, anger, or fear. Ego melting is the doorway to wisdom access. The Guru does not mirror your temporary emotional ripples. He x-rays your inner energy and reflects truth, nudging your consciousness to recycle itself into purity like fire. In Vedic Dharma, too, devotion is the force that removes the inner toxins. Disciples remaining happy is the best seva for Guru's help because joy sustains the Guru field. Sanskrit's non-stick metaphors echo the same principle. Energy must remain unstained while acting for the world. Now, how can society restore planetary and mental purity despite human damage? Decorative nature self purifies, earth digests, the trees recycle, the air circulates. All are aparna in functions. Humans introduce chemicals and plastics, yet destruction is reversible in the flood of time. If lifestyle returns to biopurity, meditation must not stay confined to songs, it becomes lifestyle infrastructure again cyclically. Biodegradable choices that protect planetary sattva, non biodegradable choices burden Earth's digestion. Meditation detoxifies the human mind, so impressions stored in subconscious need not haunt life. Just like hydrophobic feathers shake water off, the pranayama shakes reactions of the nervous system. Dharmic culture historically honored biodegradable living, devotion, meditation, unity before language, division, and essence over labels. Patience allows nature and mind both to process and restore. Now, what is true samadhi and who can attain it? The samadhi from burial is a linguistic metaphor, not sadhana. Spiritual samadhi is experiential liberation. Death occurs to everyone. Samadhi everyone cannot take. Those who come to the spiritual path at the center, happy seekers, can experience the samadhi. It is cleansed subconscious, ego melted bhakti, truth reflective mind, and the inner pillar of light awareness. Now, why are many Sanskrit and English roots similar, and what does this indicate? Sanskrit and English share roots like Gama or Go. Many words are linked because languages arose from unified consciousness before Babel-like division. Prefixes modify meaning by function and vibration. This reveals unity principle, not vocabulary pride. Essence matters over name debates. Now, how should the mind behave to live Guru knowledge fully? They become a mirror like, reflect, don't absorb negativity. Reactions dissolve like flood in time. Detox internally through meditation. Hold love for knowledge as bhakti and capture the essence and not label cages. Now, why is fire repeatedly compared to pure consciousness? Jagadav, fire in Sanskrit is Pavaka, the purifier, but Gurudev goes beyond vocabulary and points us to ontology. Fire never requires cleansing, it cleanses anything that comes into contact with it. This intrinsic purity is the best metaphor for reflecting consciousness that absorbs nothing yet illuminates everything. Consciousness knows how to recycle itself. It can burn impressions, return to neutrality, and still serve creation without residue. When light absorbs all colors, it appears black. When it reflects all colors, it appears white. But untouched light is not trapped in the debate between black and white. It simply shines. Similarly, the consciousness should not be trapped in linguistic polarization. The Guru reflects truth, not surface emotions. He does not become angry when you show anger. He shows you the underlying energy pattern like an X ray. His presence is catalytic, mass removing, ego melting, and truth revealing. Plasma metaphysics and Agni metaphors are not poetry here. They are functional reminders that your awareness must remain not sticky or niranjani while performing karma that is biodegradable for the planet and uplifting for society. Ancient Vedic culture integrated Agni not as ritual but as lifestyle clarity, burning inner toxins daily through tapas, meditation, and devotion. Today, environmental impurity is largely human introduced chemicals and plastics, but nature still processes pollution slowly. The real seva is to live purity so that Earth's digestion burden reduces and human minds don't become psychologically saturated with unconscious impression. Fire teaches the spiritual immunity. You can transform the world without soaking the world into trauma. This is the operational meaning of purity that Gurudev transmits. Now, how does language similarly serve spiritual evolution? Yeah, Gurudev, language similarity is not trivia. It is a remembrance of unity. Sanskrit roots and English roots overlap. Gama means go, the parna means leave by function, and aparna means reflection without absorption. Scholar studies even found similarities between Tamil and Japanese. These are signs that languages emerged from one unified consciousness before human division. The Babel story symbolized forgetting one language, but spirituality rebuilds unity beyond grammar. Meditation liberates beyond linguistic contrast. True seekers don't capture words, they capture essence, which is vibration and function. Now, what is ego and why does it melt in devotion? The ego is a mask, a temporary, contextual, and defensive. Guru removes mask like an X-ray mirror. Bhakti melts ego because love has no defense system. Without bhakti, knowledge becomes philosophy. With bhakti, knowledge becomes experience. Knowledge, devotion, and karma are three wheels of one seat. Holding even one brings others. Love creates the lagan, the persistence. When ego melts, the mind becomes reflective, like a lotus leaf in the world, not stained by it. Now, why are hate-based disease analogies toward dharma rejected? Like the Gurudev said, religious labels arose by geography or context. Hindu for Sindhu region, Sanatan as timeless. You must not object to someone calling it Hindu, Sanatan, Vedic, traditional, or spiritual, but hateful analogies equating dharmic identity to disease like cancer or plague are incorrect. The mind should reflect truth, not absorb hatred. Promote peace and humanity, not vocabulary wars. Now, how should seekers relate to subconscious impressions? Yeah, the impressions, laws, and subconscious do not always manifest. Not everything must appear in life. Inner toxins make impressions sticky. Meditation shakes reactions off like hydrophobic feathers shake off water. The flood of time dissolves everything temporary, including hostility. Nothing is forever, neither pain nor opponents. Now, what is Niranjani awareness? Negative Niranjani or Niranjani means that which nothing can stick to. Niranjani consciousness is non sticky, pristine, untouched, pure like lotus leaf. Non attachment is dignified freedom like feathers that dry quickly, repel water, and remain functional. Aparna awareness absorbs nothing but reflects everything. Now, what nourishes Guru's well being the most? Jagadav, you can pray for the Guru's help, but the most powerful seva for Guru's well-being is disciples remaining happy. Disciples' happiness indirectly nourishes the Guru field. Joy supports the Guru's wellness indirectly. Guru reflects your true inner energy, truth, not emotional copy. Now, Gurudev spoke about light absorbing colors appearing black and reflecting appearing white. How does this apply to human consciousness? The metaphor of light is a direct mirror into the human psyche. Light that absorbs all colors instead of reflecting them appears black. Light that reflects all colors appears white. But the real teaching is not color perception, it is the principle of absorption versus reflection. Human consciousness behaves like light when we absorb every impression, criticism, jealousy, trauma, praise, insult, fear. We become psychologically saturated, burdened, or inwardly conflicted. Our nervous system turns dark not because it is bad, but because we acted as a sponge instead of a mirror. Meditation reverses this. It trains the mind to reflect without absorbing, to witness without getting emotionally wet. This is aparna awareness: absorb nothing, reflect everything, remain unseen. Just like feathers repel water to keep the world functional, consciousness repels impressions to keep the human free. From the art of living perspective, this is why practices like Sudarshan Kriya and meditation are not techniques, they are lifestyle upgrades. From absorption to reflection, prana becomes the transformer of inner energy. Like a leaf transforms sunlight, but unlike the leaf, the mind must not hold residue. Time acts like a flood, carrying away all that looks permanent. Even if someone seems to oppose or hurt you at a subconscious level, their hostility cannot stay forever because negativity has no ecosystem. In reflective awareness. When disciples remain happy and reflective, they collectively emanate white light consciousness, strengthening the planetary field of purity. The essence is this: we should not try to appear white, we should stop being blackened by absorption. Consciousness is naturally pure like fire. It illuminates and purifies by reflecting truth, not by fighting darkness. This metaphor applies to emotional immunity, environmental responsibility, ego dissolution, and knowledge remembrance. It's not optics, it is a manual for liberation. The Vedic view affirms the same. Consciousness should be non-stick like lotus leaf, Sanskrit names itself encode function. The metaphor reveals how remembering essence over labels restores a unity. Now, what is the significance of Guru being compared to an X ray rather than a normal mirror? Jagadev, a mirror reflects your surface image, an X-ray reflects what is hidden inside. When Gurudev compared the Guru to an X-ray mirror, he unveiled a fundamental Vedic principle. Truth is not cosmetic, it is anatomical. The Guru does not copy emotional expressions. If you stand angry, jealous, or disturbed before a Guru, the Guru will not mirror your anger. Instead, he reflects the underlying energetic cause behind that anger, the impression, ego, or ignorance. This mask removing intelligence is the Guru field. Masks are not condemned, they are revealed to so they can dissolve. Ego melts in devotion, not because devotion attacks ego, but because bhakti has no barriers. Love makes you honest, honesty makes you invisible to X truth. Now, from the Vedic view, this comparison rejects linguistic superficiality. Don't get stuck in words, get stuck in essence. The Guru reveals the soul, the mind, and the energy beyond labels like Hindu, Vedic, Sanatan, or spiritual. Labels are geography or time. Truth is timeless. The X ray mirror means the Guru purifies you without being polluted by you, just like fire remains pure while burning impurities. He burns subconscious impressions through presence and teaching, not emotional imitation. Now, from a seeker's journey, this X-ray gives direction and dignity. Guru shows true form beyond language labels, so you can recycle your own consciousness. His well-being is supported when disciples remain happy and reflective. Now, how does the bhakti create the lagan or the persistence for knowledge? Jagadav, Lakan is not desire, it is a sacred persistence fueled by love. Gurudev explained bhakti as the essential wheel without which knowledge becomes dry and karma becomes burden. Knowledge, bhakti, and karma are three wheels of one seat, but bhakti is the axis that mobilizes the others. Is because love produces willingness. Without love, knowledge becomes confusion. With love, confusion becomes curiosity. With curiosity, curiosity becomes self study. With self study becomes experience. Lagan grows, the ego melts, and the knowledge enters. Bhakti is not absorbing, it is connecting. It melts ego without conflict, allowing wisdom to finally function. Knowledge requires devotion like photosynthesis requires the sun, but if the leaf holds black pigment absorbing all colors, it can't transform, so bhakti must turn the mind reflective instead. Now, in a Vedic dharma, essence is retained, not labels. Love cleanses life and society. Lagan arises only from bhakti. True seekers can attain samadhi when Lagan matures into surrender. Now, why did the ancient societies embed meditation as part of lifestyle, and why must it return again? Meditation was never an accessory in Vedic civilization. It was a civic infrastructure. Ancient literature always contained meditation knowledge because human minds forget, but nature reminds repeatedly, cyclically. This forgetting and remembering is a law, not a flaw. Ignorance glorifies knowledge through contrast. After societal gaps, spirituality must return again and again because purity is the default state, pollution is temporary, restoration is eternal. Meditation is a life liberating tool not for songs but only lifestyle. It detoxifies impressions and restores gratitude. Gratitude heals stress. This inner pillar of light awareness is the anchor when the flood of time carries reactions away. Now, how should modern pollution be countered spiritually? Yeah, the pollution is either biodegradable or non biodegradable. Biodegradable preserves purity, non biodegradable burdens digestion, the planetary and the mental. Chemicals and plastics were human introduced. Nature will still processes slowly, but patience is needed. Spiritual purity can restore ecological purity by choosing lifestyles aligned to biodegradability and meditation. Eco purity supports spiritual purity. If we reform lifestyle, destruction becomes reversible. Now, what is the difference between burial samadhi and spiritual samadhi? There, samadhi from burial is linguistic usage, not sadhana. Spiritual samadhi is an experiential liberation path. The mrityu, the death comes to all. Samadhi, everyone cannot take, but seekers at this center, at Art of Living International Center, can experience samadhi through the Sehet Samadhi meditation course and program. And then with its practice, it's a process, subconscious, ego melted devotion, and reflective awareness. Now, how should the mind deal with someone opposing you? There, the oppositions change because everything here is temporary. If someone is against you, don't worry, they won't be against you forever. Nothing is forever. Everything moves away in times as flood. Meditation prevents these impressions from sticking like hydrophobic feathers shake water off. Now, what is the best help for Guru's health? You can pray for Guru's help, but the strongest seva for Guru's well-being is disciples' remaining happy. Happiness of disciples supports Guru's well-being indirectly because the Guru feel thrives in joy. Now, when the body feels weak, why is listening to the body advised even during detox? The physiological detox should align with body needs. Seeds and nuts are okay for a little protein if very weak. Teachers benefit deeply from Sayam or the detox discipline, but they must also balance with the body awareness. Listen to your body for energy balance. Detox should not weaken your reflection capacity. Now, what is the common message behind all these teachings? Negative, do not let words trap the mind, capture essence, not language cages. Mind mirror is equivalent to reflect, not absorb negativity. Flood of time dissolves reactions. Guru teaching itself is detox. Bhakti melts the ego. Meditation liberates. Gratitude heals stress. Purity is innate. Unity is older than language. Samadhi is experiential. Language is a riverbank. Wisdom is the ocean. Hold the ocean, not the bank. Now, Gurudev said society once had meditation infrastructure. What evidence and logic supports that claim culturally? When Gurudev states that meditation was once part of society, it's not offering nostalgia, he is offering civilizational logic. In ancient Vedic culture, meditation was embedded in the social bloodstream, woven into how people educated children, governed kingdoms, designed living spaces, and interpreted nature. Scriptures were not whispered in caves, they were recited and debated in public squares, riversides, gurukuls, courtyards, and royal councils, and yagya arenas. Meditation knowledge sat next to grammar, astronomy, medicine, ethics, statecraft, metaphysics, poetry, music, architecture, mathematics, and psychology. The Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Upanishads, the Agamas, the Itihasas, the Puranas, the Yoga Vasista, the Dhanurveda, the Shilpa Shastra, the Ayurveda, the Jyotish, they all hold meditation centered cosmologies because the Vedic mind saw human consciousness as a natural resource. A person unable to meditate was considered mentally unstable for leadership. A ruler unable to sit in silence could not make dharmic decisions. A mother unable to calm the prana could not transmit sattva to a child. Now, the logic also aligns biologically. A society that runs on absorption destroys its ecology. A society that runs on reflection restores it. A nervous system trained to cyclical breathing plus silence produces oxytocin, vagal tone, calm decision making, immune resilience, kindness, and community trust. A culture that forgets meditation eventually reintroduces toxicity, anger, jealousy, trauma, chemicals, plastics, confusion over identity. The cyclic nature of life means wisdom must return like monsoon winds, returning from summer exhaustion. The center becomes a field for remembrance. Meditation once ruled society. Silently, it will rule again. Silently, not by force, but by contrast free experience. Now, Gurudev said English is closer to Sanskrit roots than Hindi. Why is this linguistically logical rather than political? The statement is linguistic observation, not linguistic nationalism. Gurudev noted that many Sanskrit roots echo surprisingly in English. Gama means to go, Suparna echoing in super feather immunity to water, Parna echoing in Parna absorbing leaf light transformation, and Aparna in reflector consciousness semantics. Hindi evolved later and centered more on a cultural expression than pure function. Languages flow like rivers. Sanskrit is an upstream glacial lake of roots. Hindi is a tributary English, though geographically distant, curiously shares older phonetic fossils due to ancient Ego-European migrations. When a word vibrates in function, it survives across millennia. When it evolves only in expression, it localizes faster. Thus, similarity should not become pride, nor should difference become war. Roots belong to humanity, not one political era. Essence is older than geography, and vibration is older than script. Now, what is the deeper spiritual meaning of birds never getting wet due to hydrophobic feathers? Yeah, the Suparna feathers reflect, not absorb water, enabling birds to glide through storms without internal collapse. Spiritually, it symbolizes minds moving through samskaric floods without absorbing the flood identity. Time is a river, karma is motion, ego is a mask debris, subconscious impressions are droplets, guru knowledge is sunlight. If feathers absorb like sponges, birds would sing. If minds absorb like sponges, humans would sink. Non attachment is aerodynamics of the soul. Now, our practices simulate the same. Sudarshan Kriya is a psychological feather stake, drying faint residues of impressions without dharma and drama. Now, he warns against language traps. How does the language trap the mind in spiritual communities? Jayadeva, a language trap happens when words become identity cages instead of identity lenses. If you agree endlessly whether it is Hindu, Vedic, Sanatan, spiritual, or tradition, but don't meditate, you are holding the reflection manual, yet refusing to reflect words that then accumulate as absorbed colors, appearing like black light. Knowledge without reflection becomes pigment, not illumination. Debate should sharpen essence, not replace experience. True dharma is vibration, not vocabulary. Labels must dissolve into function like colors dissolving back to sunlight. Now, when Gurudev says biodegradable protects the planet, how is biodegradability a spiritual principle? The biodegradability is not merely chemistry, it is dharma. What digests safely into earth preserves earth's purity. What digests safely into the mind preserves the mind's purity. Seeds, nuts, leaves, cow based nutrition, plant based lifestyles. These biodegradable hatred, chemical waste, plastic identity, emotional absorption, these do not biodegrade internally or ecologically. Nature digests, ego does not digest. Guru digests the truth, disciple must digest reactions. Biodegradable lifestyle supports both ecology and sadhana infrastructure. Thus, pranayama and meditation are internal biodegradation engines that digest impressions into freedom. Now, he mentioned prefixes carry functional vibration. Can you explain how a prefix change vibration and function? A prefix is a vibrational pilot light. The Su adds elevation of function. Suparna is water immunity feathers. Sumedha elevated the intellect. Often symbolizes absence of absorption. Aparna reflect nothing but absorb nothing. Need is symbolizes the non-stick purity. The Niranjani, the nothing sticks. Prefixes are not decorative. They shape energetic intention and cognitive function. Sanskrit was engineered acoustically for mind detox by sound. Now, this indicates consciousness is upstream of language, not downstream of it. Now, how does the gratitude heal stress according to these techniques and teachings? The stress makes you forget gratitude because the mind is absorbing rather than reflecting. Gratitude heals stress because it flips awareness from scarcity to contact. When the mind reflects, it perceives nourishment, not threat. Meditation restores gratitude. Gratitude restores the energy balance. Energy balances accelerates healing. Healing dissolves subconscious stickiness. Now, is it possible to pray for Guru's health without emotional dependency? Yes, pray but remain joyful. Dependency is absorption, prayer is reflection. The Guru field thrives when disciples stay the pillar of light, not emotional echo chambers. Joy is seva, not clinging. Disciples' joy indirectly nourishes the Guru's ecosystem of purity. Now, how does the time act like a spiritual flood in sadhana? There the time is a river carrying all that looks permanent. The reactions, the trauma, the hostility, the pain, the praise, the blame, even linguistic identities. What survives time is only function. Meditation, love, karma, gratitude, purity, non attachment, truth, unity. Time dissolves what is absorbed and time glorifies what is reflective. Meditation accelerates this resolution consciously, so you do not wait 100 lifetimes for the river to clean your feathers. Now, what is the ultimate harmony between knowledge, bhakti, and karma as a practical system? You have to think of it as a living seed. Knowledge is clarity of vision. Bhakti is persistence through love. Karma is motion through service. But the nervous system is the tripod. Meditation is the lubricant that keeps the wheels from rusting. Hold even one sincerely and the others arrive. But never confuse the seat of the essence with the wheels of the labels. Sit on essence, the chair will carry you, and the wheels are the karma, the jnana, and the bhakti. Now, Gurudev emphasized that nature reminds us repeatedly when humans forget wisdom. How should seekers interpret nature's reminders? Gurudev, in the Vedic worldview, nature is not outside the spiritual system. It's the first scripture when Gurudev said that humans forget their knowledge, but the nature reminds again and again. He pointed to a cosmic law. Remembrance is cyclical and the universe is pedagogical. Trees inhale carbon and exhale oxygen, reminding us of the selfless breath. Rivers constantly flow, reminding us not to stagnate in reactions. The hydrophobic feathers of a bird remind us that we are not meant to carry the emotional weight of every storm. The lotus leaf reminds us that existence can be immersed without being stained. Even fire, which never gets contaminated when it burns, waste, reminds us that purification is our innate function, not a borrowed achievement. Nature's reminders work in rhythms, day and night, seasons, tides, inhale, exhale, birth, death cycles, destruction, renewal, ignorance, knowledge, contrast. The reminders are not moral lectures, they are functional nudges. When we pollute, the earth still digests over time. But slowly, this slowness itself is a reminder. Purity is patient, but it must ultimately return. When we overthink language and label, silence reminds us vibration is older than vocabulary. When we absorb every impression, stress reminds us you forgot gratitude, return to reflection. For seekers, nature's reminders are checkpoints in consciousness. Meditation sharpens our ability to decode these signals without drama. Instead of waiting for times as flood to wash away suffering passively, we consciously synchronize with nature's rhythm through breathwork and awareness. Every deep inhale in Kriya is answering nature's call for remembrance. The goal is not to romanticize nature, but to refunction like nature, biodegradable, reflective, self-purifying, unified, cyclical, and service-driven. The reminder is always love-based persistence for wisdom. Now, if Sanskrit words reveal function, what is the spiritual significance of defining relationships with functional names? Like when relationships are named by function rather than possession or emotion, the mind becomes freer. Sanskrit calls a mother Janani, the one who births, not the one who owns. The cow is Gomata because she nourishes while moving around. Her mobility is part of her seva, removing malnutrition. Even to go is kama, a functional verb. Similarly, Vedic relationships were lived as roles of upliftment, not emotional contracts. This prevents absorption and promotes reflection. Spiritually, this means connection without clinging. Function protects devotion from becoming dependency. Wisdom doesn't change across label shifts. Function remains constant. Now, he spoke against the harmful analogies about dharma. What is the dharmic method to respond when offended without absorbing hate? They will respond like feathers, not like blotting paper. Shake it off, let truth stand firm, avoid internalizing offense. Correction can be firm, but emotion should not stick. Reflection is stronger than reaction. Anger is temporary ripple. Truth is a permanent connection. Pranayama gives the nervous system that shake off capacity. Meditation gives the mind that non-stick dignity. You can oppose wrong statements without becoming psychologically wet with the hatred in return. The Gurudev said languages were once or one in unity. How should modern seekers restore unity without rejecting a linguistic diversity? The unity doesn't mean one dictionary, it means one consciousness. Diversity is shorelines, unity is the ocean. Meditation returns us to the source of the sound before words divided it. Honor languages not as dividers but as localized reflections of one original vibration. Do not reject labels. All languages reject hatred, except that all rivers split from one ocean and must one day merge again. Now, why were leaves used ritually, and how does this connect to modern ecological dharma? Jagadev, leaves of the Parna were sacred because they absorb sunlight and transform, biodegrade safely into earth, carry vibration without hoarding, and symbolize transformation without residue. Ritual tools must preserve planetary purity, not destroy it. If humanity returns to biodegradable lifestyles, the burden on Earth's purification reduces. Biodegradable lifestyle is outer sadhana. Meditation is inner biodegradable lifestyle. Both preserve purity. He mentioned that scholar studies noted similarities between Tamil and Japanese. What does such cross linguistic similarity indicate metaphysically? It hints that sound patterns exist before geography owns them. Similarly, vibrations survive in distant cultures when they express core function. It supports the principle that language once flowed from one consciousness. These are echoes of the primordial acoustic template, not coincidences. We should not turn such similarity into superiority. It is simply evidence that unity precedes division. Now, Gurudev wants teachers not to miss Sayam or the detox discipline. What makes Sayam essential for spiritual faculty? Negative teachers transmit not just knowledge but a vibration. If the transmitter is clogged and the signal is noisy, Sayam detox cleanses the mind body complex, refines intuition, restores sensitivity, and deepens inner experience. Senior alchemy teachers have affirmed it as one of life's best experiences. While detox is essential, it must be balanced by listening to the body. If one feels very weak, seeds and nuts for light routine are acceptable. Discipline must preserve strength, not destroy functionality. Now, how does the guru teaching become detox by itself beyond formal practices? The true detoxes the mind, fastens in silence. Sometimes, when the guru reflects your real energy, masks drop, self study arises, subconscious impressions loosen, ego dissolves, gratitude returns, confusion reduces, and remembrance accelerates. It is not a belief detox, it is a clarity detox. Presence itself burns. Impressions like a fire without smoke. Teaching is the agni of cognition. Now, why is the human mind asked to become a pillar of light during meditation? Like a pillar of light reflects, does not bend, does not absorb, stands centered, and allows the internal biochemical transformation to complete without emotional leakage. This inner alignment dissolves reactions in times of flood consciously rather than passively. This state is aparna in practice, suparna in immunity, niranjani in freedom, and prana balance in ecology. Now, what is a unified takeaway for a modern spiritual seeker inspired by the satsang? Negative, remember function over form, be in the world not stained by it. Let ego melt in devotion, let breath shake off reactions, let meditation reflect truth, let gratitude return when stress tries to darken the mind, let lifestyle biodegrade into ecology, not into waste. Opponents will not oppose forever. Impressions need not become destiny. Names should not become words. Experience is greater than vocabulary. Purity is innate. Unity is older than language. Meditation will return again. Seva must carry love and strength, not dependency. Language must uplift. Breath must detox. Living must biodegrade into sattva. Knowledge must be free. Bhakti must melt ego and karma must serve society. Time must wash residue and meditation must center awareness. Gratitude must heal stress and consciousness must reflect without absorbing. This is the seat, sit on it. Now, Gurudev said that prefixes modify meaning by function and vibration. How should seekers approach prefixes in mantra and cognition? The prefixes in Sanskrit are not grammatical ornaments, they are intention amplifiers. When Gurudev pointed out the functional powers of prefixes, he indirectly referenced mantra metabolism. A prefix like su is an upward vector. It enhances the inherent function of a word, the way attention enhances energy. So, parna, for example, elevates the prana or the parna or the leaf feather into a protective, reflective, non-absorbent principle. In mantra, su does not sit like decoration. It commands the mind to rise into a higher function. A is the principle of absence. Remove clinging, remove absorption. Nir is a transcendental neutrality. Nothing sticks, nothing stains. Now map this into cognition. When the mind takes a prefix consciously, it reconfigures self identity. Now, a seeker approaching prefixes must do so like a pilot programming flight coordinates. You ask, what must my mind absorb? What must it reflect? What must never stick? Prefixes answer these questions acoustically before your mind answers philosophically. In art of living breathing system, cyclic breathing works like a prefix to the nervous system. It modifies how impressions behave internally. If your breath is chaotic, impressions prefix themselves with dur or difficulty. In experience, if your breath is rhythmic, awareness prefixes itself with su or elevation and nir or freedom. The real lesson for freedom and the seekers is this: do not treat prefix wisdom as linguistic curiosity, treat it as a cognitive tuning fork. Every time you chant a mantra containing these prefixes, you are being told not only what something is, but how something functions in consciousness. The liberated mind recites the sense first, the grammar later. Mantra is the science of function encoded in sound. Prefixes are key instruments to direct awareness, not diversify identity into ego or war. Now, what does reflective mind versus absorbent mind practically mean in modern life situations? Jagadav, a reflective mind is one that perceives, evaluates, and releases without imprinting psychological debris. An absorbent mind is one that internalizes every stimulus, turning even temporary events into long term samskaras or impressions. Gurudev used the imagery of leaves, feathers, and floods to highlight this. A leaf reflects green but does not carry stains. Feathers don't absorb water but stay functional. Time carries away what looks permanent. Practically today, a reflective mind means hear criticism but don't archive it into identity, feel emotions but don't fossilize them into reactions, observe conflict but don't incubate hatred, accept praise but don't glue it into ego, witness political or religious labels but don't build a psychological warfare around them. A reflective mind behaves like a flowing river. It touches many shores but belongs to none. Emotional hygiene matters more than emotional expression. You can correct an offense without converting offense into hate. Spiritual psychology recognizes impermanence as ecological recycling. When the mind knows nothing is forever, it releases faster. Meditation conditions this via vagal tone, endocrine reset, and attentional neutrality. In practice, daily meditation gives you the buffer space before reaction. Kriya gives you the shake off mechanism before impression solidifies. Gratitude gives you the healing flip away from stress absorption cycles. Now, what is the practical part to spiritual samadhi according to these teachings? Negative samadhi is not a concept, it is experiential graduation. Gurudev made a clear distinction, but burial samadhi is linguistic. Spiritual samadhi is liberation through purity, devotion, karma, and meditation. The practical path includes the ego dissolution via bhakti, biodegradable living via karma, detox alignment via sayam, and the inner light pillar awareness via meditation, reflection, analogies via non-stick consciousness, and body listening for energy balance. True samadhi is rare but attainable for sincere seekers who come to the center and walk the path in joy and essence, not vocabulary wars. Meditation is the primary wheel for extinction of reactions and refinement of impressions. Breathing systems accelerate nervous reset and subconscious detox. Bhakti ensures persistence and karma ensures seva or selfless service. The path is traveled inward. A guru simply shines the X-ray, not your emotions as echo. Now, if death comes to everyone, why is spiritual attainment considered optional? Negative, because death is biology, realization is consciousness engineering. Every creature will biodegrade physically, the burial samadhi, but very few biodegrade mentally and emotionally into reflection free clarity. Spiritual attainment requires active purification, not passive dissolution. Meditation accelerates evolution beyond DNA expiry. Experience matters over labels. Gurudev said Tamil and Japanese share similarities. How does comparative linguistics support unity of consciousness? The similar vibrations survive at geographic distance when words retain primordial acoustic function. It indicates languages diverged geographically but not vibrationally at root. Unity is older than script. Now, why is the mind asked not to worry forever, especially when opposition feels permanent? Because perceived permanence is illusion created by emotional absorption. Time dissolves reactions like floodwater, dissolving sand castles. Meditation teaches accelerated release, so worry cannot cement into subconscious impressions. Now, what is the spiritual ecology of biodegradable versus non biodegradable impressions? The biodegradable impressions dissolve through recognition, gratitude, breath, time, and teaching. Non biodegradable impressions persist through ego, hate, shock, identity, clinging, and unprocessed trauma. Meditation is the digestive enzyme for impressions. Now, what indirect responsibility did he place on teachers through the teaching on Siam? The teachers are antenna. If antenna are clogged, the signal becomes noise. Detox discipline is essential but must preserve strength. Listen to body if weak, seeds and nuts are okay for protein if needed. Now, what role does environmental purity play in inner purity? The outer ecology influences the inner neurochemistry. When lifestyle is biodegradable, the planet digests faster and human mind carries less subconscious digestion load. Purity is a feedback loop, not a one-way ritual. Now, can you summarize the seat versus wheel versus prefix analogy into one final directive for seekers? The seat is the sense, the wheels are knowledge, bhakti karma, and prefixes are direction vectors. Sit on the seat of essence, let the wheels carry you, let the prefixes orient you. Do not mistake grammar for dharma, wheel for seat or prefix for possession, experience the source. Now, Gurudev in the satsang emphasized language should elevate consciousness, not divide identity. In a world where language itself becomes political or ideological, how should society realign? When Gurudev said language must elevate consciousness rather than fracture identity, he was stating a principle that predates linguistics. Language is a carrier of collective consciousness, not a container for collective conflict. Modern society has unconsciously inverted this. Instead of language helping to solve separation, language is now used to mark territory. Words that were once bridges have become borders, fences for identity validation, outrage, or superiority narratives. This is not language evolution, it is language weaponization. The tragedy is not division of society, but that society believes division is the default function of words. Realignment begins with recognizing a core truth. Languages don't divide people, people divide languages. When ego claims ownership of meaning instead of function, when a community forgets that words were born as shared vibrations expressing shared phenomenon, speech becomes tribal badge making instead of insight sharing. Art of Living programs resolve this by training non identity cognition before training communication. When the breath stabilizes, the nervous system resets. When meditation strengthens the witness awareness, the speaker stops converting words into personal armor. What follows is speech that informs without imprinting division. A society realigned to this principle would teach children not just grammar but mantra plus language hygiene. Words are tools, identity is internal, unity is older than labels. If language debates must happen, they should refine meaning, not fortify ego. Instead of asking which language is superior, the new question becomes which vibration uplifts all. Language must function like Sudarshan Kriya for society itself, purifying the collective psyche of separation samskaras. Now, the Vedic thought sees speech as sacred only when it liberates the listener from separation, not chains the speaker to ego. The Veda never says my truth versus your truth, only one truth, spoken in many frequencies, many languages. Identity is personal, vibration is universal. Now, Gurudev spoke about scriptures needing to be experienced, not merely recited. How should the sacred literacy shift, especially for young spiritual aspirants? Jagradev's sacred literacy today is stuck between memorization and misinterpretation. The Vedic model was neither a Vedic Gurukul. A shloka was considered learned only when it could be lived, demonstrated, applied under pressure, and transmitted without ego coloration. Modern aspirants face a new danger. They chant verses perfectly, but hold reactions imperfectly. They pronounce mantras with devotion yet absorb opposition with trauma. They memorize liberation yet rehearse division. The shift must be structural. Step one is inner experience must become the reference dictionary for outer scripture, not the other way around. Breathwork must become the preface to sacred study because cognition is determined by nervous state before meaning extraction. Meditation must become punctuation, creating silence gaps between impressions so ego cannot hijack interpretation and replace secret recital competitions with realization metrics like do you release faster than you recite? Do you forgive before you interpret? Do you serve beyond your certainty? Do words cling less inside than they sound outside? Art of Living modernizes this ancient structure without distorting it. Instead of only training the tongue to chant, we train the system to digest meaning without retaining poison. For young aspirants, sacred literacy should become recite, to reflect, to release, respond with service, return to silence. Scriptures are meant to make the mind hydrophobic to negativity and fertile to wisdom simultaneously. The rare state Gurudev points to is non-sticky devotion, bhakti that does not cling to ego, knowledge that does not cling to aggression, and practice that does not cling to fear. Sacred study must end in liberation, not argument footnotes. Now, Gurudev mentioned the mind should become as light as feather, yet as vast as time itself. How is this dual training possible without becoming emotionally numb? Yeah, Gurudev, becoming light does not mean becoming empty, it means becoming non burdened. Becoming vast does not mean becoming detached, it means becoming non claustrophobic to events. Emotional numbness is a shutdown, samadhi lightness is an expression. The feather is light not because it lacks substance, but because air passes through it without resistance. Time is vast, but because it holds everything. But because time is not vast because it holds everything, but because it carries everything without owning anything. This training is possible through a precise sequence. Expand awareness, then refine response, then release impression. So darshan shakes the roots without shrinking sensitivity. Meditation widens the sky without killing emotions' capacity to color experience. The result is not numbness but non ownership of emotional residue. The Veda calls the state the anasakti, but society wrongly translates it into indifference. Its real function is freedom from psychological residue, not freedom from feeling itself. Now, he used the nature metaphors the leaf, the feather, the flood, the time. Why is spiritual teaching encoded best through nature analogies, not intellectual frameworks? Like this, because nature is the most truthful non ego scripture, and metaphor survives long when ego cannot corrupt it. A tree does not argue its greenness, a feather does not claim dryness, a flood does not debate permanence, time does not publish ideology. Nature metaphors are post identity. They teach a function before emotion, law before preference, and impermanence before reaction, reflection before absorption. Intellect explains, the nature demonstrates. The Guru traditionally pointed to nature because it is the one classroom that never lies to the nervous system. Now, what is the biggest collective misconception humanity holds about sacred knowledge today? That sacred knowledge is information to defend itself, of transformation to undergo. Knowledge is now stored like weaponry instead of being metabolized like medicine. People sharpen scriptures like words, not apply them like solvents for ego. The Veda was never a fortress of identity, only a faculty of liberation. Now, he hinted that even syntax and verse order can impact their consciousness. How does nonlinear teaching affect realization? Like the nonlinear teaching prevents ego from building hierarchical meaning scaffolding. When knowledge jumps levels, the mind cannot defend it through sequence ownership. It must experience the leap instead of memorizing the ladder. It's the difference between climbing to divinity versus dropping into it. Now, how do we ensure interfaith or interlinguistic dialogue leads to integration, not mere tolerance? Like the tolerance is passive, integration is purified cognition plus common vibration. Teach breath first, ego release second, dialogue third, then conversation becomes digestive, not defensive. Now, what practical indicators show a seeker is progressing toward non sticky consciousness? Like the offense dissolves faster than memory stores. Debate clarifies meaning, not self worth. Service continues even without certainty. Identity shrinks and presence expands. Opposition does not stain the inner identity, and silence feels like home, not threat. Reaction feels optional, not reflexive. Now, if languages diverge from shared acoustic roots, what does that imply about mantra universality? I think that mantra is older than linguistic territory. Scripture is geography, sound is cosmology, universality is in frequency, not alphabet. Therefore, mantra works across languages when function is honor, never ownership. Now, what is the 21st century dharma of sacred speech? To speak with no ego residue, no identity aggression, no divisive samskara transcripts. Sacred speech must become truthful in source, hydrophobic to ego, biodegradable in impressions, and uplifting in vibration, borderless in identity, and silent in residue, serving in action. Speech becomes Vedic only when it liberates, unites, serves, and leaves no psychological battlefield behind it. Now, Gurudev noted that true strength is gentle, stable, and non reactive. How do we cultivate this strength when modern life equates power with aggression or dominance? Neither the confusion between force and strength is one of the most dangerous psychological mistranslations of the century. Gurudev was reviving an ancient metric when he said real strength is gentle and non reactive. The Vedic rishis never praised the loudest voice or the sharpest rebuttal. They revered the firmest inner axis. A tree that withstands a storm does not shout at the wind. The ocean that receives the rivers never competes with them. Strength in the way that is central, not frontal. Modern society glorifies dominance because it sees life as conquest based rather than consciousness based. To cultivate true strength, we must train the system to shift from sympathetic overdrive, the fight dominance mode, into parasympathetic sovereignty, the inner command mode. This happens through breath regulation, emotional non ownership, and meditation disassociation from reflex warfare. You do not win by overpowering the opponent, you win by not becoming the battlefield. A strong mind does not lack anger, it refuses automatic publication of anger. It does not lack opinion, it refuses emotional ownership of opinion. Real power is measured not by impact on another ego, but by freedom from you own as your own ego's compulsions. Now, in practical terms, we cultivate strength by training resilience internally before expressing resistance externally. Sudarshan Kriya fortifies the nervous nerves without magnifying hostility. Meditation builds psychological spine without building psychological shields. Service work builds purpose beyond the insecurity of dominance. The 21st century must graduate from muscular power into nervous system power, from ideological victory into ego immunity, from dominance into presence that cannot be destabilized. This is Strength 2.0, quiet, stable, immovable, unprovoked, unconquerable, not because it fights back, but because it doesn't absorb attack into identity. Now, Gurudev said the mind should have zero residue after response. How can interaction be intense, corrective, or confrontational if needed, yet leave no residue? Negative intensity is not a villain, residue is. Gurudev's statement means your action may have friction, but your consciousness must have no afterburn. Think of a surgical scalpel, it cuts yet carries no hatred toward tissues. Fire purifies gold without remembering the impurities. Electricity shocks the heart back into rhythm without recording personal revenge toward arrhythmia. The lesson is clear: response without residue is evolution, reaction with residue is regression. To interact intensely without residue, you follow the inner algorithm, witness the event fully, do not skip perception, choose response consciously, do not compulsively, deliver correction or confrontation as function, not identity defense, exhale the impression through breath, silence, gratitude, or karma immediately after. Now, Kriya makes the residue soluble, meditation strengthens the witness, so confrontation does not become internal scar tissue. Corrective action spoken from residue becomes revenge. The corrective action spoken from awareness becomes reform. The world needs reformers, not collectors of psychological scars. In dharmic tradition, kings fought wars, but sages carried the crowns of psychological weight to peace, not trauma. Therefore, engagement is dharma not only when it ends back in sunya clarity, not simmering identity memory. Now, Gurudev mentioned nervous system storing negativity faster than wisdom. Why is negativity archived faster, and how do we reverse the storage bias? The negativity is stored faster because it carries survival charge, not truth charge. The brain evolved to archive danger as priority, not harmony. Harmony didn't kill this body's ancestors, danger did. So the brains became biased archivist, but evolution did not design you to live only by threats. It designed threats to end in wisdom, not dominate wisdom. Reversal means de-escalating the survival charge because and before impressions are stored, breathwork reduces threat encoding amplitude. Meditation updates memory pathways to release a friendly folders, not a retention friendly folders. Gratitude and seva override shock based archives with meaning based digestible cognition. Now we reverse bias by developing faster deletion speed than installation speed. Kriya accelerates deletion of shock change and charge. Sacred knowledge combined with silence gives wisdom higher retention percentage. Now, why did he caution against excessive dietary asceticism? If the body feels weak, isn't tapas about endurance? Like, the tapas is defining the instrument, not ruining it. Asceticism without strength becomes self-violence. In sattvic packaging, endurance is not deprivation. Endurance is nervous system stamina without self-damage. Protein is okay. The seeds, nuts are fine if body needs strength. The body must be strong so the mind can dissolve ego without dissolving immunity or stability. Tapas increases prana, not decreases life capacity. A weak horse cannot pull a divine chariot. He referenced impressions being like digital files stored by emotional intensity. How do we upgrade the mind's storage operating system? Now, the upgrade from default auto save mode to manual witness save mode, replace emotional charging center with breath charging center. So negativity loses encryption privilege. Meditation defragments identity. Every daily practice installs the new operating system, non-sticky perception, fast elite reactions, and conscious save wisdom. Service file sync, gratitude cache clearing, and silence based firewall. Your mind must shift from storage slavery to storage mastery. Now, why does comparison of languages or subliminal acoustic similarities matter spiritually? Now, it proves that unity is older than scripts, nations, ideologies, or religions. The deeper parent of languages is sound, vibration, and consciousness impulse. Spiritual phonetics reveal civilization once shared acoustics cognition before ego claimed a linguistic territory. Now, what does being non-stainable like a feather or leaf translate into as a daily practice discipline? Yeah, the daily discipline becomes observe, don't imprint, respond, don't archive, correct, don't stain, praise, don't cling, and oppose ideas, not people. Disagree without identity injury, serve without emotional ledger, and exhale psychological charge. At dusk, Kriya return to silence like reset. Non-stainability is trained through breath as detergent, silence as sponge, meditation as sky, and karma as self-transcendence. Now, how should children or new seekers define identity if not by language, religion, or ideology? Like the identity should be defined by presence, values, consciousness, stability, empathy, purpose, orientation, witness capacity, non-sticky cognition, and emotional biodegradability. Devotion without dominance and service without labels, truth without territory, and silence without insecurity. These are Rishi metrics for 21st century identity. We call it psychological citizenship, not ideological citizenship. Now, what is the danger of turning sacred study into semantic or grammatical territory wars? The sacred study turns toxic when words become ego currency, meaning becomes territorial, debate becomes identitarian, and realization becomes an optional academic trophy rather than mandatory inner transformation. Words start not from deference, but from sticky identity that refuses to dissolve after speaking. Now, state one final synthesis of Gurudev's teaching into a 21st century seeker's war. Neither my speech will uplift not stain, my knowledge will transform, not divide, my courage will stabilize, not aggress, my breath will detox impressions daily, my mind will reflect, not absorb poison, my identity will expand into presence, not shrink into labels, my response will have zero residue, my seva will outlive my opinions, my silence will be my home, truth will be my source, not territory. This is not vow or a vow to win, it is a vow to remain unconquered by your own mind's residues. Now, Gurudev said the happiness of disciples is the best contribution to the Guru's health. From a dharmic and neuroscience standpoint, explain the mechanics behind this. Like that, the statement is not emotional poetry, it is an energetic biology principle. In ancient Dharma, the Guru Shishya bond is not contractual, it is field based. The Guru's presence functions as a highly coherent energy system, and disciples form a distributed node network around the field. When disciples are miserable, anxious, or fragmented, the collective nervous systems around a Guru emit a disharmonious frequency noise. Just as unstable power grids strain the main transformer, the Guru, like a spiritual generator, does not take disciples' pain personally, but the surrounding field becomes congested. Happiness works differently. Joyful disciples enter sattvic parasympathetic dominance, reducing stress biochemicals like cortisol while increasing the vagal tone. A high-toned vagus nerve emits calmer biosignals, which create less energetic congestion in the guru field. This is why an art of living joy is not considered selfish. It is a service to the space that sustains wisdom. Neuroscience adds a second lens. Mirror neurons make human systems subconsciously co-regulate. Even silent collective sadness is archived as environmental load. Collective joy, however, becomes systematic and systemic lubrication, not systemic heat. Thus, disciples' joy helps the Guru indirectly by reducing field pollution around the Guru, increasing prana coherence in the collective, and strengthening the non reactive mirror mind feel and state, removing stress residue from the satsang environment and acting as energetic ventilation. The Guru remains untouched, but the disciples' inner climate shapes the outer field, and this affects the ease of transmission. A happy disciple is not merely a receiver, they become part of the power conditioning unit of the Guru's ecosystem. In Dharma, the best offering is not singing long prayers for the Guru, it is keeping your own system free of suffering debris so that the Gyan can flow without load on the field. This is the engineering of devotion. Now, samadhi is rare but attainable, and seekers can experience it at the center. Distinguish rarity from exclusivity and process from entitlement. Like the rarity in dharma is not elitism. Rarity is skill scarcity, not person scarcity. Everyone is allowed to seek samadhi, but few know the internal science to digest identity, dissolve residue, and steady prana, melt ego, and stabilize the witness awareness at cellular depth. The reason burial samadhi, the linguistic usage, is common, but spiritual samadhi is rare, is the same reason cemeteries are full, but realized consciousness are few. Now, samadhi is rare because it requires no stickiness to perception, the Aparna principle, no residue storage after interaction, ego melting without self damage, the prana rising above biochemical identity, the folders, and mind operating like a mirror, not black hole absorption. Attainability means the center provides the conditions, the satsang, the sadhana, the silence, the surfacing of truth, but the disciple must walk the path without demanding the destination. Entitlement destroys the very doors it knocks on. Art of living democratizes the process of darshan kriya. Meditation, seva, and silence make the system samadhi friendly, but samadhi itself is not someone's private property. The center says you can experience it here, not it belongs to you because you came. Process is universal, experience is personal, and realization is earned through dissolution, not attendance certificates. Rarity glorifies samadhi, exclusivity weaponizes it. Gurudev always glorifies, never weaponizes. Now, Gurudev said meditation will return cyclically into society based on the Gurudev's stock. What is the sociological restoration model for meditation reintegration? Like the cyclic return of meditation is like a seasonal intelligence. Humanity repeatedly enters a phase where logic outruns wisdom, speech outruns silence, and consumption outruns ecology, identity outruns consciousness, and speed outruns nervous system health. When imbalance peaks, remembrance returns meditation. A restoration model includes grassroots sadhana in children and youth, create early contrast awareness before residue builds, meditation for faculty and parents, not only students, stress solving, upstream heals downstream generations, the service culture replacing revenge culture, karma wheel fed by bhakti reduces negativity, archives the language united by vibration research, unity principle spreads meditation or division, the biodegradable lifestyle education, eco purity upgrades the mental purity, community silence events normalizing non-reaction strength, neuroscience plus dharmic proof, frameworks increasing credibility, meditation replacing ideological agitation as inner tool, prefix awareness trainings dissolving semantic confusion, happiness considered a contribution, not indulgence. Thus, meditation returns when the mind learns to delete faster than it stores and serve more than it asserts. Meditation is society's immune system update, and updates must return when viruses evolve. Now, all subconscious impressions must manifest. The freedom gap between stored memory and expressed destiny. What was Gurudev trying to convey? Like that the subconscious is a library, not a landlord. Ancient psychology distinguishes between samskara stored and the karma activated. A stored impression is like a catched draft. Not every catched file needs publication approval. Manifestation requires charge, circumstance, permission, identity, personalization. Meditation removes the change and the charge. Wisdom removes the identity, personalization. Time deletes circumstances, and awareness removes permission to publish negativity. This creates a freedom gap. So, destiny is not run by what is stored, it is run by what stays charged long enough to be expressed. Sadhana deletes the infection privilege of impressions. Now, Gurudev said, do not capture words, capture the essence. So how do we teach spiritual essence of the meditation without erasing the linguistic precision? The precision has value, precision has poison. We teach languages clearly, but do not let language become the ID card of ego. Teach grammar, phonetics, roots, meaning, but do not let children conclude my label is my proof. Words illuminate, the essence liberates. Study words as windows, never walls. Now, prefixes change meaning by vibration and function. Give examples and explain spiritual consequences of unconscious prefix consumption. Like the Suparna is the feather that stays dry. Aparna is that which absorbs nothing. The Niranjani is the awareness where nothing sticks. Prefixes are functional keys. When consumed unconsciously, the mind gets trapped in semantic identification glasses instead of seeing function, consciousness, mechanics, leading to misunderstanding of religion, ego, ownership of words, and mental stickiness. Conscious prefix awareness prevents linguistic ego staining. Now, without bhakti, knowledge cannot work. Explain what knowledge looks like with bhakti versus without bhakti. Without bhakti, knowledge is data, argument, identity, fuel, brittle, arrogant, impatient, confrontational, residue creating. With bhakti, knowledge is alive, humble, persistent, ego melting, inclusive, non sticky, service oriented, joy supported, internally digested, and residue free. Bhakti makes knowledge digestible, jnana, not indigestion information. Now, experience is unlimited, but lingual uses are limited. Explain infinite experience from finite tools. A flute has seven holes, but Krishna produces infinite music. Breath has three stages, but consciousness produces infinite states. The tools are finite, but consciousness they unlock is not mathematically bound by the instrument. Now, disease analogy warning. How do you uphold a strong dharmic identity without hate toward other labels? By rooting in values, not opponents, and strength of mirror mind, not mirror enemies. You stand for dharma without fighting people. Now, give one message to society that unifies the spirituality in the satsang that Gurudev gave. Like Gurudev, everything in nature is built to remain pure. Human mind must learn the same. Detox, speech, emotions, identity, memory, ecology. Reflect, do not absorb. Serve, do not stain. Breath, do not archive poison. Love, do not defend ego. Seek, do not claim entitlement. Meditate, do not debate your liberation. And stay joyful because joy is seva. To this is the dharma of a modern rishi. Now, Gurudev said prefixes in language carry a functional vibration. How does vibration and language influence consciousness practically, not mystically? Like when Gurudev speaks of vibration in Sanskrit prefixes, he is pointing to a sonic operating system that predates grammar and script. Every prefix, a su, a, neer, pari, vipra, is not merely a modifier, it's a functional key like a command prompt in consciousness. The ancient rishis did not treat sound casually, they saw sound as action in seed form. The vibration of a word is its samskara installation file. If you speak suparna, the prefix su encodes the quality of ease, grace, or spacious functioning, while parna encodes the function of a leaf or feather. The combined vibration signals what it must do, how it must behave, and what it must not stick to it. Modern linguistics often studies etymology but ignores the phonetic intention fields. Consciousness is impacted by language not because letters carry magic, but because nerves respond to sound charts faster than intellect responds to meaning. Negativity becomes residue when charged acoustically. Purity becomes resilience when charged acoustically. Gurdev's warning is that an unconscious prefix consumer allows mental downloads by sound rather than awareness, leading to identity cling, emotional training, and semantic traps. Practically, language vibration influences consciousness by changing the nervous system, change amplitude, charge amplitude, influencing what the mind auto saves as identity, determining deletion speed versus retention speed, directing attention to function, not ego, upgrading attachment style cognition into non-stick cognition. In art of wing sadhana, chanting, learning, and even listening to sacred roots are used to install a non-reactive nervous firmware, not a linguistic superiority badge. The mantra is not the destination, it's the installer of inner stability. Language vibration becomes evolutionary only when it modifies the mind's reflex folder system, not when mind modifies itself with ego after sound. Now, vibration is not mysticism. Vibration is a psychophysiology expressed before psychology reacts. Now, the tower story symbolizes separation through forgetting. How does forgetting operate as a problem and also a necessary design in human life? The forgetting is a design, not defect. If the mind remembered every hurt, every face, every word, every opposition as permanent installation, consciousness would ossify into identity archives and liberation would be cognitively impossible. Forgetting creates impermanent spacing, which becomes the possibility of wisdom. Separation occurred by forgetting unity, but unity returns by forgetting separation again and again. Forgetting erases equals in voices, not Gyan's blueprints. Sadhana ensures we forget pain but remember Gyan by choice, not instinct. The mind is compared to a mirror that must reflect and not absorb negativity. But mirrors need maintenance. What is the maintenance cycle for a reflective mind? There is a maintenance cycle for mirror mind. Morning install witness awareness to meditation. Daytime respond as function, not identity. At sunset, delete impressions charged to kriya or silence. At night, gratitude, the catch clear in the mind's residue folders. Weekly deep detox through sayama or long silence practice. Mirror mind is not absence of emotion, it is presence of deletion ritual for emotional charge. A mirror that is not cleaned becomes a painting, not a mirror. Now, contrast exists to glorify wisdom. Explain how contrast and conflict and awakening are related but not the same. The contrast is background difference that highlights the truth. Conflict is ego declaring war on the difference. Awakening is consciousness refusing to call difference a disease and returning to essence. Contrast glorifies wisdom, and conflicts glorifies ego. Awakening glorifies your freedom from both. Kriya removes conflict but preserves the contrast's teaching value. Now, samadhi path is experiential, not linguistic usage. Why is experience considered infinite while tools and words and techniques are finite? Like a key that fits one lock but opens infinite vistas inside a palace. Meditation tools have fixed interfaces but unlimited output states. Words point, experience transforms. Burial samadhi is word usage. Meditation samadhi is inner state migration. Now, Guru removes the mask. What kind of mask exists today that spirituality must x-ray through? The modern masks include the achievement mask, the value is equal to applause. Outrage mask is power is equal to loud reaction. Label mask is identity, the vocabulary set. Digital virtue mask is empathy, the display only. Dominance mask is strength, the aggression. Overthinking mask is wisdom, the confusion medals. Emotional ownership mask is pain, the personality. Perfection mask is the flaw, the public shame. Consumer mask is the freedom, the possession. Comparison mask is the worth, the scoreboard. Guru mirror the X-rays through these because it reveals the inner energy truth, not emotional cosmetics. Meditation removes the mask's charge. Seva removes the mask's purpose. Bhakti removes the mask's ego. Now, how do we educate society on religious names being contextual, not identity presence? By teaching labels as historical metadata, not existential passport. Geography created the term Hindu. Timelessness prevents the idea Sanatana. Function created the Vedic culture, created settings, respect context, reject hatred, and retain wisdom. Now, why did Gurudev affirm prayer for Guru's health, but reroute the actual offering into disciples as happiness? Because the field amplifies what you embody faster than what you request. Prayer is allowed, but present state is the real offering. Joy is prana stability without residue. Mystery is self violence. Disciples who remain happy become energetic load balancers for the Guru field. Now, balanced detox aligns with the body listening. How do we teach intuitive biology without turning it into dietary ego contest? Together by emphasizing body feedback over belief system. If weak, they take protein. If balanced, take light food. If overstrained by stress, take kriya. The body is the instrument. Ego must not turn instrument care into currency of ascetic superiority. Now, give one grand conclusion that reflects the points of Gurudev's talk and Satsang wisdom. Jagadav, all of Dharma teaches purity, all of confusion comes when identity sticks, mind absorbs poison, language becomes ego property, and ambition becomes mask. Meditation cleanses the charge, the bhakti melts the ego, and the karma reforms the society. Time deletes opposition, and the body gives the feedback. Guru x-rays the truth, and seeds need nourishing. Leaves teach absorption neutral. The feathers teach non-attachment. Gratitude clears the archives. Joy becomes seva, and samadhi becomes migration, not symmetry. The essence is simple. Let knowledge transform your words. You before words tap you. Reflect, don't imprint. Serve, don't stain. And love, don't possess. Breath, don't archive poison. Seek, don't claim entitlement. And stay joyful because joy is a contribution to Jagadev.